Hi, I'm Dr. Ange Mack. Welcome to Operation Freedom 2, a fun and friendly show talking about our veterans' quality of life and how we can all make it that much better. Today, I have a great guest with me who's going to be so much fun. I've been dying to interview this person for quite a few months now, and his name is, he goes by Teamfred, and we'll talk about why that is, and he is a fellow veteran as well. Teamfred, thanks for being on my show today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited about the opportunity to talk with you today.
Yeah, this is great. It's awesome. As you know, as I explained a little bit about my show in the past, it's all about looking for some of the more fun and recreational things that our veterans can do to help them, to give them variety in their life, to get them out of the house, to give them something else to focus on. So we're not focusing on like the negative stuff, but more of the positive stuff and how that helps our veterans, heal, move forward. And comedy, which is what you're all about, is a huge piece of that for me, and I know it's a huge piece of that for you too. So just to give our audience a little background, first of all, I know you're a stand-up comedian. You're awesome. You taught one of the courses that I took. But before that, tell us a little bit about your time in the military and what brought you to this point.
Well, I went to North Carolina A&T State University with a ROTC scholarship. Got an engineering degree. When I graduated, I was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the Army. I went to Fort Gordon, Georgia, where I studied to be a signal officer. I was there 6 months, and then after that, I went to Fort Bragg, and they convinced me to jump out of airplanes that were flying. I had a parachute, of course, but I did my time at Fort Bragg as an officer. I loved my time at Fort Bragg working with the soldiers of the 82nd Airborne Division. Then I took my talents, because while I was in the Army, they trained me on different certifications, and took my talents to work for the government in the DC area, and been with the government ever since. So I currently work for the Department of the Army now as a civilian with a TRADOC, which is the Training and Doctrine Command, at Fort Eustis. And I'm around a lot of veterans, around a lot of active duty soldiers. And one of my former coworkers is a retired colonel, Colonel Smith. He kind of came to me one day. He said, "Hey man, I think you're missing your calling." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I think you should be a stand-up comedian." At the time, I was always known as the funny guy. But I never saw myself, doing stand-up. And so we made a bet. We bet if his football team beat my football team, then I would have to go and do stand-up comedy. So fortunately, we lost. And 6 years ago, I went to do stand-up and kind of.
All right, well, I got to ask you then, what was your losing team? Who was your losing team?
It's the team that lost last year in the Super Bowl, the 49ers.
Oh, geez, and they lost.
Yeah, they lost this past Sunday too, but that loss,
still in the business.
That loss turned out to be a victory for me, because it got me to the comedy club that week. The local comedy club is called Kazi's. They have a weekly open mic. I went out there and tried some material, and people laughed, and it was a feeling that I had never felt before, and I got the bug. And I started going back every Thursday, and next thing you know, I'm competing in competitions at the national chain we have in this area. Is called the Funny Bone. We have one in Virginia Beach and Richmond, so I was going to both locations. And then got involved with a nonprofit where we actually now teach creative arts classes to military veterans to help them cope with life.
Yes.
So very exciting.
That's quite a journey, quite a story.
Yeah.
You're similar paths. Fort Bragg for sure. That's where I went to OCS, and you were there just for fun, it sounds like. So you were in the military for quite a while. How has we're gonna dive in here. How has doing comedy helped you? And I'm going to talk about you as an instructor too, with the Armed Forces Partnership in the Arts. But just getting started, did you think that comedy was going to help you? I know you got the bug. It's easy. I can imagine. I've never done what you do, but just the few laughs that I get from time to time, it's like, well, I could see how that would really be, just an extraordinary way to enjoy yourself. But more than that, what has it given you, you think?
At first, that was something that I thought, well, people are laughing, at me, and that was kind of different. But then when I realized I can use comedy as a platform to kind of talk about those things that are maybe plaguing me. Maybe, bad relationships or, stressful situations at work. And I can find some humor in laughing at myself. And I found it to be a positive outlet to be able to talk about myself and get people to laugh at it. And I always tell people, if you can laugh at yourself, that's always a great thing. But it's always an outlet to get what's inside of me out. And I always refer to the can of soda. You know, a lot of us, if we don't get what's in us out and we shake it up through stress, anxiety, or depression, then sometimes it comes out in very destructive ways. And a lot of military personnel, you know, turn to alcohol or drugs, or, you know, I know this month is Suicide Prevention Month. So what I try to tell people is that for me, it's been a platform just to, you know, be able to be a stress relief. It's fun, but it's something that's therapeutic in telling jokes, because now my career is not necessarily trying to make you laugh. It's all about me. I feel good when I perform because I'm able to, you know, de-stress and maybe get some of those things that are in my mind out in a positive way.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And I've seen some of your performances. I follow you now on Facebook and kind of see where you're popping up, at least virtually for the time being. And you call yourself Teamfred. And we talked a little bit about this before the show. It's like, what do I introduce you? Teamfred. All of you, what does that mean? So explain to us a little bit, what is Teamfred and what are you trying to convey with that message?
Well, when I first started comedy, like I said, when my coworker and I had the bet and I lost the bet, I went to the local comedy club, and it was me and my coworkers. It was about 10 of us, and every Thursday night we would go to the open mic, and we would just have fun. It was like our date night for the coworkers. And when I started to compete in the competitions at the Funny Bone, I noticed when they would introduce people, they had an alias. So I was using my real name, which is Fred McKinnon, but everybody had an alias. And one of my coworkers, his name is Kelly, he was like, hey, man, we show up to these events like a football team. And we have a lot of supporters. And I was like, you know what about Team Fred? And he was like, hey, that's it. So we had t-shirts made, we had, you know, business cards, the websites. And so I always want to honor those individuals. It's kind of like the military. We are a group that sticks together. We support each other in things that we do. And I always want to pay homage to the team before I pay homage to myself. So that's where Team Fred comes from. I put the team before I put myself. So
that's how I love you. Well, that's, you know, that's military all the way, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah.
You do. So when you're out there doing your comedy and you first came across the Armed Forces Partnerships in the Arts, did I get that right? Armed Forces Partnerships in the Art. What brought you to that point? And this is where I met you, because you were instructing just like a one-day stand-up comedy course free for veterans, and we'll talk about that too. But what kind of brought you in and then kept you in giving back to this nonprofit?
It's Armed Services Arts Partnership, and what brought me to that is I had a couple that owned a yogurt shop in my neighborhood, and the owner, the female, the wife, she signed up for ASAP's first comedy boot camp class. And they had a little fishbowl at their yogurt shop where I dropped my business card off as a comedian. And long story short, we started talking, and they found out I was a comedian, that I was a veteran. So she invited me to the class to kind of talk to the participants, just as a veteran who was doing comedy. Lo and behold, when I spoke to them, you know, the ASAP, you know, I guess leadership liked what I had to say. They liked what I was about. And I knew the current instructor, who happened to be the instructor at the Funny Bone. He was one of my mentors. So he was not a veteran though. So they felt, and then he felt that as a veteran, that I would be maybe more poised to understand the military mindset and the lifestyle of what we go through. So, you know, he kind of made a suggestion to them that they transition and allow me to be an instructor. And so I've been the longest tenure instructor for the ASAP program in the Tidewater area. We're located in the Hampton Roads area. The main office is in Washington, D.C. So I've been doing it now for 6 years. And it's just about keeping the legacy of the camaraderie going for the veterans. And what I found out with our creative arts classes, because it's not just comedy, we do poetry, we do creative writing, art, music. When you see the veterans come in, and they, you know, all of us in the military have dealt with some, you know, life-altering things. You know, we like to say that we're strong, but sometimes we feel like that we're left behind. So this allows us to build a community of veterans where we can have something in common. And for me, I just use humor, the comedy class, as a way to introduce them to public speaking. So it's much more than telling jokes. It's about making them feel comfortable to talk about those things that maybe other people wouldn't understand, like depression or suicide. Sometimes civilians don't understand what we go through in the military, but the military community, we kind of understand. So it gives them a platform to talk about those things.
Yeah, I can really see how that can be such a cathartic thing for veterans to be able to go through, and just within the small group that I had the extraordinary, fun pleasure of working with when I did the one-day course. I mean, things came up with just our small group around depression, around, getting married, in the Chaw Hall because you didn't have enough time, to have a real wedding before people were deployed. Like all these real life military issues just kind of coming out, and all of us just kind of like shaking our head saying, oh yeah, been there, we get it. And when it gets to some of the more serious issues like, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and depression, and, suicidality, all of these other things, have you been involved with veterans that you think may have kind of been on the edge there, and this has kind of brought them full circle and being part of this comedy group, just kind of being able to talk their way, comedy their way through these things? Do you have a story or something you could share around that? Because I think that's like one of the biggest pieces that I saw that could come about.
Most definitely. I have a couple of stories, but the one story that sticks out the most is that we had an individual show up to class that was not on the attendance roster. Because with our classes, you have to sign up and there's a little application to have you filled out. And, it's kind of, I'm not saying it's first come, first serve, but we only had a limited amount of space when we were doing the classes in person. And we had a young lady show up and she read about the program and she thought that it would be able to help her. And she was going through a troubled time with her marriage, her kids. And when she came to class and I called the attendance, I was like, "You're in the right class?" She was like, "I signed up, but I didn't get accepted, but I need to be here." And so we took her to the side. And once we talked to her, we realized that she was really on the edge. She was going through a really dark place in her life. And it was a situation where at the time, we made an executive decision to let her participate the first week, and then we would let the leadership know that we had a new participant. And come to find out, we allowed her to stay. We also got her the help that she needed to work through the issues that she was going through. So not only do we have the classes, we have a good support network where we can reach out to suicide prevention, counseling services that we offer as well. So it's not about this coming until it jumps. We link the veterans up with getting their disability benefits, as well as other resources that all veterans should have access to.
That's an extraordinary program, and it's great that you guys dig deeper than just come here and, learn how to do comedy, learn creative writing, learn how to speak. It's you come here, we'll find out about each other, and if you need more, if you don't have your benefits and you need to get that started, or if you need further counseling help, ASAP, provides, instructors and veterans like yourself that know the system, and they can kind of help you full circle get what you need. Which
we have to go through all that training as well, like suicide prevention. We're not the actual, doctors, but we have to have the resources to know how to react when we come across a situation like that, or if somebody gets belligerent in class, conflict resolution. So they do training once a year for the instructors so that we have the information that we need to make sure we provide a safe environment as well, but also to be able to help the veterans, because again, a lot of the veterans come into class, dealing with things that they really want to talk about, but they haven't been given a platform to discuss it. And the first thing we say is, hey, whatever you say here stays here. And we're transparent about the things that we've been through. And usually, when you tell people what you've been through, they try to one up you. I got something better than that. So then it opens the conversation and we start to break down the ice glaciers that people have inside of them. And it's very rewarding. I mean, it's very rewarding.
I can imagine. So when you're going through these classes, and I know you have everything from one-day workshops to like week-long programs and month-long programs. In fact, they reached out to me and I'm like, I wish I could do, a 6 or 8 week program. But when you're going through these programs with veterans, do you ever see one that's then you think, oh, that one's a rising star, that one's got something, and if you do, what is it that you see in them that you think, okay, maybe they can take it beyond just kind of this recreational thing? Have you had that experience yet?
Yeah, most definitely. I'll use one example that sticks out. We had a young lady. Actually, she was a spouse of a Navy officer, and they were part of the LGBT community. And that's one of the things that we always say. This program is great because we leave political affiliations at the door. We leave all kind of rank and everything at the door. And we, like I said, we talk about things that we've had, LGBT community people in the class. We have, of course, African Americans, Caucasians, Republicans, Democrats, the whole nine. And comedy is one of those things we can all talk the same language. Well, she was, part of the LGBT community, and she just came to take the class because her spouse said that she was funny. And lo and behold, she had some really good material that we worked on it with. And she came to me, she said, I want to take this further. So I told her to reach out to the Funny Bone, which is a national chain. They just so happened to have a show that was geared toward the LGBTQ community. And she took her graduation set, because at the end of each class, we do a graduation. Yeah. She took her 5-minute routine and submitted it to the professionals, and they gave her the opportunity to perform on a national show. And from there, she just kind of took off, and she ended up hosting her own local open mic that was geared toward that community. I participated, in many of her events, and she was local now. They're in California, and I keep in contact with her all the time. But it's a lot of individuals like that. They take the class and they get bit by the bug, and they would continue on, and we give them resources on how to continue on. That's awesome. Yeah. I could see you probably run across quite a few like that, and just how fun for you. And this must be like an extraordinary life path, because I was looking kind of at your bio, and you have some letters after your name, RN, PhD, you could be doing. But you're doing this. You're doing stand-up. You're making people laugh. You're making yourself laugh, I'm sure, and just continuing it on, especially during these times. I think laughter right now is so important. I think there's a lot of serious stuff going on, and the more things that we can take a little lighter, the better we can make it through. All of this, we're stuck at home. We can't get out. We can't do our daily routine. Who are we going to vote for? Who are we not going to vote for? Where are we going to march? With all these different things going on. Have you been able to take some of these current events? And I know you're doing like virtual stand-up now. Is that right? Yes. So have you been able to take some of these virtual things and turn it around for people so they can, kind of maybe, just kind of refilter it and laugh about it instead of cry? Yeah, and that's one of the things about comedy. And when I teach the class, I tell people, when you write a joke, always never throw it away, because you never know how something may be pertinent today may come up again in years to come. So definitely, of course, with the pandemic, we have a lot of material that we get. It just things from, everybody fighting over toilet paper at the beginning of the pandemic to now with kids, taking classes from home. So not only am I a government employee, I'm a comedian, but I'm also a third grade, cafeteria worker and a math teacher and an English teacher. So I find myself helping my daughter with her schoolwork. So I told her the other day, I said, hey, at the end of this year, when you get your third grade certificate, I'm gonna get one too. Because no doubt. Oh, you probably have tons of material at this point. Man. I do. So it's very interesting, the times that we're in. But again, comedy is one of those things that, can change people's perspective and in a short period of time. So true. And I understand that sometimes people say, oh, that joke, it's too soon. It's too soon to do that. So, we kind of want to be sensitive around those types of things. Do you have a really good, like a pandemic joke that you've been telling, or something you can share with us today? It's not too soon. I'll tell you that right now. It's not too soon. Well, I do a lot of military shows, so I always try to, give people something that veterans can appreciate. And being a veteran, one of the things, like I said earlier, that we try to help veterans with is getting their benefits, because there is a joke that in order to get your benefits from the VA, you got to go down there and put on an Oscar-worthy performance to get the benefits, because disabilities are associated with money. Yep. So one of the things that I say is that I went down to the VA to try to file for sleep apnea, the sleeping disorder, and I'm so thankful that they changed the way they do the test because of the pandemic. Because before, you had to go to a facility, spend the night. They will monitor your breathing overnight to determine you got a sleeping disorder. Nowadays, they mail you a mask. You wear the mask and mail it back to the VA. They connect it to a computer. They can download the results. Well, they mail me a mask. Well, tell the truth, there's nothing wrong with my breathing, but to increase my chances of getting more disability money, I decided to take the mask and I put it on my daughter's baby alive baby doll, because every time you hug her, she'd be wheezing like she got asthma. So I figured that increased my chance of getting more money. So I put it on the baby doll. I mailed it back to the VA as a prank. I was just pranking. 2 months went by. They sent a package to my mom's house, and the package was a check for $85,000. There was an Arlington Cemetery plot application, an American flag folded like a triangle. I was confused. I called the VA. I said, "Why y'all send my mama that?" The lady dropped the phone and said, "God is good." I said, "All the time." She said, "We so shocked to talk to you." I said, "Why is that?" She said, "Based on your sleep study, you died." I said, "I died?" She said, "This test said you start breathing for 8 hours." I didn't realize my daughter had took the batteries out the baby alive baby doll. So. Oh my word! Yeah. So that's. So
there's the VA, I'm sure, has lots of material that we really just we need to laugh about. And then on the other end, we need to come together and push forth the information in the comments to actually get policy changed and things changed within the VA. So so these things can work for the veterans that have earned and deserve the benefits. But yeah, I'm sure all the way around you have some great material.
yeah.
Point. How can people watch what you're doing virtually?
They can go to my Facebook page is Teamfred.
Yep.
I'm on Instagram, Teamfred757, or my website is www.iamteamfred.com. You can find out what I always post my virtual events there, unless they're private events. So I do a lot in the community, and we have a lot of events coming up. So we appreciate all the support. And they want to find out about ASAP. They can go to ASAP's website is www.asap.org. So it's ASAP twice, asap.org. And they can find out information about the free creative arts classes that they offer. They're all free. So, come and sign up for a class. And if you sign up for the comedy class, more than likely you may see my face, as well as maybe one of the other instructors. So we'd love to have you. And thanks for the support.
No, absolutely. So yes, they are free. And that's the piece that I want to get out right now. If you have free time and you want to learn some free things, go to the ASAP website and check that out, or follow Team Fred like I do on Facebook.
Right.
All of this will be underneath us, so people will know where to go, and I'll also have it on my Dr. Ange Mack blogspot and my Dr. Ange Mack YouTube too going forward. And Fred, I just want to thank you so much for being on today and sharing what you do. It's so critical right now. To be able to laugh a little more and enjoy ourselves and our families, and just the situation that either the third grade teaching situation that you're in, or, I feel for the parents that have, 2, 3, 4, 5 kids running around, some not in school, some younger. I mean, they're really, being challenged. And my heart goes out to those people. And I know yours does as well, but to give us a break, maybe they can find some time to enjoy some of these things and some of these free organizations and programs and partnerships that we can offer to them. So I'll make sure all of this is out there on all my social media pieces, and we'll share this with you. Again, thanks so much for coming on. I hope I see you again in the future with ASAP. I really want to go further and learn how to be funny like you. So I'll be working on that. And in the meantime, take care. I hope you have a great rest of your week. And until next time, enjoy your freedom to enjoy some comedy. Thank you.